Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lonazi, host of the Leaders Without podcast. Today, I have another wonderful guest, my good friend, Janeen. Janeen has a wonderful story. She's based in Vancouver, British Columbia, beautiful, just outside of Vancouver, in Vancouver, but she's originally from South Africa. So when I found out that, I was like, wow, what is a South African doing in Vancouver? That's one of the things we're going to explore. So a little bit about Janeen. She's a CPA, by trade. She's been working for the government. Now she's doing something that's much more in line with her heart. She's a mindset coach, coaching and mentoring. And she also worked with some amazing people at the highest level, such as Bob Proctor and other amazing people. We're going to talk about that. Now she's coaching and mentoring staff to follow their heart and do what they're more passionate about. I love her statement and mission, which is transforming people's lives so they can live with purpose and passion. She said another version of that, which is transformation. Um, Transformation fuels purpose and passion, which I really love as well. So, as I said, Janeen is going to be a wonderful guest. We have so much to talk about. But without any further ado, Janeen, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much, Payman. Glad to be here today.
Pleasure is all mine. So, as I told you just before going live, I'd like to get to know you as a human being first and foremost. So, for people who don't know you, tell us, who's Janeen as a human being and as a person?
Janeen is a human being. Janeen is a human being. Somebody who's always been loving and kind. When I was young, I always used to be the one to look out for everybody, make sure everybody's included and feels part of the group, whatever it might be, because that's just where I wanted to feel too, is to be part of something and to be loved and unconditionally from the get-go. So that's where I come from. Like you say, I'm originally from South Africa, grew up in Johannesburg. It was really an interesting place, being Chinese. It really opened up another way of life, or not another way of life, but really just made me become more aware of my surroundings, because, there was apartheid and everything, and we were never really considered white. So, in terms of the background that I grew up in, it was almost a little bit of a disadvantage. However, my family, my parents did an amazing job to help protect that. And for myself, because I was always very positive, it really was good for me to sort of overcome that and say, well, I'm not going to allow circumstances to influence me, but I'm going to become who I truly want to be. So, yeah, and I've, in terms of who else Janeen is, I'm not sure, what else I love. I used to love playing a lot of sports. I played badminton. I represented South Africa once, going overseas with badminton. I was pretty athletic. I did really well at school. So, I was that really hardworking, diligent child growing up. But I kind of always knew that there was more to just having to work hard.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So much we can unpack.
Yeah.
Now, tell us, I'm going to ask you now a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you as a person. Are you ready?
Okay, go. 1, 2, 3, go.
All right. Now, tell us, what makes you happy as a person?
What makes me happy as a person is really my own happiness, like my own awareness, and helping others to empower themselves, because we all have that happiness within. And happiness is really a choice. I can choose to be happy, or I can choose to be sad. So I choose to be happy. And that is the choice I make. And I'm excited and happy and enthused by getting other people to realize that for themselves, that they can be happy. And that is a choice that they can make.
Absolutely. Wow, that's beautiful. Now, let's keep talking about happiness. What makes you smile?
The awareness of knowing who I am. Things are great to have, but happiness for me is an inside job. It's something that comes from within. If I allow, all beautiful things on the outside to influence my happiness, that means that I'm actually giving my power away, because If the sun is shining, I'm happy. If the sun is not shining, I'm sad. So for me, happiness really is internally. And when I find my internal happiness, then no matter what's going on outside, it doesn't matter. I can still remain happy. So yeah, that's me and happiness.
That now. Let's take the happiness factor a couple of notches even higher. Tell us, what makes you come alive? What makes your heart sing?
What makes my heart sing is that the ability to really allow myself to be me. You know, there's a saying, and I'm not sure where it came from, but it is, to be free, I have to be me. Not the me I think you need to be, not the me my children think I need to be, but to be free, I really need to be me. Because that is...
Write this down. I'm just taking note. This is beautiful. To be free, to be me. Love that. Keep going. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, because the thing really is, Payman, is that I'm a gift here on this earth. You are a gift here on this earth. Every single one of us is a gift here on this earth. And to be truly me means that I can fulfill the purpose that I was meant to bring to this earth. And only I can bring that. Just the same like only you, Payman, can be and bring through what you are meant to bring. No one else can do that. I can't do that for you. Only you bring that. And we're almost like a part of a big puzzle. And each part of us is a piece of that puzzle that only we can fit into that piece.
Now, let me ask you a philosophical question. Are we part of the puzzle, or are we also both part of the puzzle and the puzzle itself?
I would say we both, part of the puzzle and the puzzle itself. Because the I am presence within us is the puzzle. So, you know, we are part of it and we are a piece of it. And together it's just like a beautiful, I don't know, beautiful picture, a beautiful mosaic, whatever you want to call it in your mind, right? It's perfect.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of the spectrum, tell us, what makes you sad and angry?
Well, one of the things, you know, is what I've learned, Payman, is that for me, I am very conscious of allowing myself to go there. And I actually choose not to. So, you know, when I think about things that make me sad or angry, I can't really think of a specific thing. However, what I can say about that is when something sort of, you know, presses that button towards that angle, what I for myself realize and know is that it's an opportunity for me to look deeper. Because none of that is really true unless I give it power. So, you know, when you ask the question about what makes me angry and upset and all that stuff, for me, I can't really pinpoint a thing, but what I can say is that I find it as a lesson, and it's more like a trigger of emotional awareness to say, okay, I'm having that experience. What do I need to really look at inwardly to be able to bring forth my true power again, to take that power back?
Love that. I so agree with that. So agree with that. Wonderful. Now, I know you're a wonderful person with tremendous array of talents, but what would you say is your number one personal superpower?
My superpower, I think I have a few, but one of the things that I love doing is I love speaking to people and I love getting to know people and really finding their strengths. Because when I find strengths of people, and sometimes they don't really realize they've got it, and I'm like, well, you have that power, you have that potential. You've got to bring it out more. And that's what I love so much about really meeting people and talking in front of people, because really to inspire, I know at one stage I was like, oh, you know, inspiring, like there was something that I'd been working on for a long, long time, sort of, you know, inspiring success for you, because the success is not only mine when I bring out your power, but it's a win-win for everybody. So that's what inspires me. That's what gets me excited, is really seeing others show up for themselves. And that showing up for themselves is a win for them, for me, and the whole entire universe. So I don't know if you can feel it or see it or whatever, but when I speak about that,
goosebumps right now. Yeah, absolutely.
I get excited.
Wow, amazing. Cool. Now, you like traveling, right?
Yes, I do.
What was the very first trip you took?
Oh my goodness. Now, if you think really like way back, even from when I was like a child, I remember the first trip that I took was a trip, a school trip where we went on a field trip. And that was the very first trip that I ever took in my life that I can remember. So it wasn't far from home. It was probably maybe a few hours away. But at that time, it was like, wow. And it was like out in the bush and there were all these other kids and we got to know, we got engaged with nature and how things flow within nature and everything operates in the ecosystem. So for me, that was my very first trip that I can remember. If you just talk about travel, but I've done a lot of other travel too.
Was in South Africa, right?
Yes, that was in South Africa. And that was a gift because really, South Africa is such a beautiful place. If you've never ever been there, I really invite you to go there with an open heart and mind to enjoy the nature, the beauty of it, the warmth of the sun. Like when I say that, I can actually feel the warmth of the sun on my arm, and it's such a beautiful, warming feeling.
Yes. So you mentioned that you're originally from a Chinese background. How old were you when your family moved from China to South Africa?
Well, I was actually born in South Africa. So for me, I am probably, I want to say third generation Chinese in South Africa. And, my grandfather came over prior and my grandmother was from South Africa. So, yeah, I mean, I'm Chinese, but, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but they used to call us a banana because we're.
That applies to pretty much most Asians. Yes.
Banana because you're Chinese on the outside, but boy,
you're yellow on the outside, but white on the inside. Yes. So which part of China is your family from? I'm asking because I'm interested because I spent 4 years in China myself. I lived there. So that's why for me, China, I had some amazing time. So which part of China are you guys from?
Oh my gosh, Payman, you're asking me that history. I have
That's
to
your homework
actually
then.
say,
That's your homework
and
for
I
next
probably
time.
don't
For
even,
part two.
I probably don't. If I had my mom and dad, I do. I speak some Cantonese and I'm grateful for that. Yeah, even though I was born in South Africa, my gran and my grandfather, we spoke to them and my parents try to speak a little bit of it to us as well at home. And so I have a little bit of it. Now I don't speak so much of it because, here in Canada.
Because you mentioned Cantonese, so probably your family's from the south of China, maybe from Guangdong or from Hong Kong, from that area.
Yeah, probably Guangdong.
South,
Guangdong.
They speak Cantonese. Yeah, I spent again 4 years in China and 1 year in Hong Kong, and I had an amazing experience there. Awesome! Wow.
And it's cool that you say that because you know so much about it, and that's also.
I can't say I know so much, but because there's so much to learn. But I do know a little bit because I'm interested in that. So yes.
But what I wanted to say there was that opening of the awareness. When you're interested in it and you go and explore it, your awareness opens up to that, right? And you're not Chinese, but you know so much about China and Hong Kong because you've expanded your awareness in that area. And it's really that's just almost like the mindset. Really, we sometimes we have that limiting belief. And it's only because our awareness is not expanded to know more. And I love just talking about that because it really allows us to say, well, there is possibility.
Sure.
So
I lived
just a thought.
I was mostly in the north of China. I was in Hangzhou, close to Shanghai. Have you heard of Hangzhou? The city
I have heard of the name.
And that's where the headquarters of Alibaba is located right now. So that's why I spend most of my time, but also spend 6 months in Shenzhen down south. And of course, I visited Guangzhou and a few other places. But yeah, I loved it. I can't wait till it's safe enough for us to go back because I have unfinished business with China because there's so many places I haven't been. For example, Beijing and the center, Chengdu. And my goal is I want to travel all across. For me, China is not a country. China is a continent, just like India, like Brazil, this massive, like the US, even Canada, these massive countries. Each city, each region has its own identity, culture. When I went to China, my original goal was to learn to make Chinese Mandarin my lucky number 7 language because I speak 6 languages. But honestly, I swear to you, Janine, I gave up within a week because it was so frustrating. I would tell this thing, for example, something simple. The place I was living, for example, Daguan in Hangzhou. So the cab driver would look at me, Shama. Daguan, Timurong. Daguan. Oh, Daguan. It was so frustrating that you wanted to headbutt the guy. And after a couple of weeks, I just said stop. I just used my phone and just the translation. And whenever I need it, I just used I hired a translator because I mean, from a foreigner's perspective, to learn Chinese, to properly speak it, it's almost like a full-time endeavor, like 4 years of 5, 6 hours a day just to speak it. Forget about even reading and listening because that's a completely different ball game. But yeah, no, Chinese, this is one thing I want to learn because, you know, when I learn language, I speak 6 languages. When I learn languages, for me, a language is an opening into the culture of that country. I love to stay. You know, when I travel, I don't stay in I never, as a matter of fact, I've never stayed in a resort because that's not my style. I like to stay where the locals go, you know. And what I wanted to do eventually is go to China, go lose myself in the small towns, villages, speak with the locals in Chinese, maybe not in the local, dialect because it was going to take me like 25 lifetimes, but at least being able to communicate and conversate with them and eventually even read Chinese history, all those Chinese literature classics in Chinese. That's my ultimate, one of my goals, but let's see. But yeah, China for me, no, it was 4 magnificent years, and Hong Kong was the highlight for me. So always a special place for me in my heart.
It's a beautiful place. I mean, I've been there when I was very, very young. And when I went there, we, like my cousins, we went there together and it was lots of fun out in the country. Everything was just so open and free then. But in terms of the expansion and the diversity of it there, you're absolutely right. It's almost like another continent. There's just so much, so much, and it's beautiful to see that.
We have so many stories. Like the first night, we can do an entire podcast. Me and you just sharing the stories from China, but
Yeah.
but anyways, this is not about me. It's about you. You're the star of the show. So let's switch back to you because when you get your podcast, I would be honored to come on your podcast and talk about my experience in China. That's something because listen, China, wow, I had so many amazing experiences there. So many.
Sounds good. That
And
sounds good,
food,
Payman.
not even mention the food because the food in China, if you know what you're eating and you go with a Chinese friend, a local, then it's heaven. If you don't know, it's going to be a challenge, very challenge.
Yeah.
Because
But it's neat too, though, right? Because you go there, and I remember, like when I went there, people don't really cook very much at home.
no,
They,
exactly.
go downstairs and pick up like
It's
whatever
so
it is.
cheap. It's so
Yeah.
cheap, and it's also it's a eating is a social gathering, is a social. It brings people together. Especially,
Yeah.
I love the fact that Chinese go to restaurant. They have these round tables, and everybody comes and shares all the dishes.
Yes.
For me, that's how it should be because food is not something for you just to eat in your corner in front of your computer and fast, fast, fast. No, I grew up in Europe and south of France, and then over there, when you go to someone's house, you barely stay, you barely even go to the living room. From the moment you get in, at least in the south of France, north of France is different. The south of France, close to the Spanish border, it's very, convivial and whatnot. From the moment you get in the house, you sit at the dining table until you leave, like until you get in, say at 2 p.m., you leave at 11 p.m. You're just sitting at a table, food slowly all day long. You're just eating, drinking, socializing all around the
Yeah.
table. Because
Yeah.
for them, eating is not a need. It's a
Yeah.
social gathering. It's
Yeah.
a what do you call it? What's the right word? It's it's a connector. It brings people together.
Yeah.
Just like coffee,
It's
just like cigarette.
it's very true, Payment. And I remember very much, and this is something that really is pretty dear to my heart, is when I was growing up, my parents were always so willing to invite any of my friends home. They would rather my friends come than I go out because, anytime somebody came, they were always welcomed in, come and have a meal, come and eat with us, It didn't matter what time of day it was. And it didn't matter, if it was dinner time, they were welcome. It didn't matter what we were having for dinner. Anybody who came was welcome to come and eat with us at home. And
Yeah.
for me, that was really a gift that I really remember very, very dearly because you're absolutely right. It really helped people to be engaged and to get to know one another, just, having a meal.
To talk
That's when you
how the
really
day
get to
goes,
know.
how's business, how's family. What I love about, I will always remember with funness the hospitality, the kindness, the generosity of the Chinese. Once you make a Chinese friend in China, that person is going to be a friend for life, a brother or sister for
Yeah.
life, because they're really, when you go out with them for a restaurant, I'm sure you've seen it, and it's maybe the Westerners will not understand it, but people are actually fighting as this was going to pay the bill. You know, people, they're going to
Sounds
fight. No,
familiar.
it's my turn. No, 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 no. Some people would even prepay in advance, you know?
Yes. Yes, I understand that. I've had that before.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. And
I
that
love
is,
that.
I guess that is a Chinese thing that I've held on to. It's like always that willingness to want to give, to want to serve, to want to, put others first.
To be a good
Very,
host.
very, yeah.
I was born in Afghanistan, and in our culture, it's pretty much the same. When you go out with Afghan people, sometimes it's almost embarrassing because they're literally fighting as to who's going to pay. Literally fight, and maybe not with punches, but raising their voices and, oh, you're insulting me now. You're insulting me. How do you dare? It's funny.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Wow.
Love it, eh?
Listen, beautiful. So one thing I want to know, so how was it growing up as a Chinese in South Africa, of all places? That is worthy of a book by itself. Seriously.
Yeah, it was interesting, Pam, and like I said, in terms of the economic or political situation at the time, it was different. However, I really am again grateful to my family, my parents who really did their best, and my grandparents as well, raising all these kids and then raising us, and it was always really about a loving environment. And so in terms of anything outside of that, I'm not sure what it was like. I mean, we went to school, we were gifted that we were able to eventually go to a public school. I was allowed to do that. My parents, when they were there, they weren't allowed to go to a public school. They had to go to, certain other private schools because they weren't allowed. I even remember the one time my mom was telling me a story about my uncle. They were really very athletic, and in order for them to go and represent the school or something, they had to actually get permission to go from one province to another in order just to represent the school in sport. Now, for me, that was like, wow. But in terms of it, for me growing up, I was very blessed in the sense that by that time, things had softened, or the situation had opened up more, where I was allowed to go to schools with others. And I did well because my parents really created that protective, loving environment that they could, in order to remind me that you are good enough, that you can go and do things as much as you can, even though sometimes when you go out there you kind of get the feeling something's weird, but they created that for me, and I'm absolutely grateful for that. School was amazing. I did well at school. I managed to go to university there as well. And like I said, I played badminton there, and I, represented South Africa one time as well, which is a gift again. So growing up in South Africa as a Chinese person, I'd say what was the biggest gift was the family and how close the family unit was in supporting one another. And even up until today, like my family is spread all over the world. However, we still communicate a lot. And one thing that my grandfather used to always make sure of when we were in South Africa was that all family came to family gatherings at his place. And it was like every few months. It wasn't like, once every year. It was very regularly to come together and support and be together as a community. So, yeah.
Now, let me take you. I mean, we can do an entire episode just on, your South Africa experience and all that. That's fascinating because that's a country I love, and that's high on my list to visit because it's beautiful. Now, speaking of languages, did you learn? I guess you speak by now both Afrikaans and Zulu, or?
So in South Africa, yes, I can speak Afrikaans, although it's like probably not as good as it used to be. English is the other language, and then there's other like Zulu. I didn't learn that much Zulu, a little bit of Zulu, and then also there was another language called Sotho. Now my dad was fluent, and he probably can still speak it pretty fluently now if he actually got into a conversation with somebody. But he was absolutely fluent in Sotho and could have a full conversation with people. When I was back there, I could speak the basic Sotho as well, but it's been years since I've been back there. So if you ask me how to speak it now, I think the only word I know is dumela, which is hello.
The reason I'm asking is because, I'm big in sports, especially football and rugby. And whenever I hear, especially rugby, which is big in South Africa, when
Mhm.
they play the national anthem, it's the only country in the world which has the national anthem in 4 or 5 different languages at the same time. I found that completely fascinating, even though I know Switzerland has also 4 or 5 languages, but when you hear the Swiss national anthem, it's in German. But when you hear the South African, the first part is in English, and then the switch 5 languages. I found that the most beautiful thing ever. The most, for me, it's the most fascinating, you know, national anthem in the world.
Yeah, and it is beautiful. I mean, if you think about what Nelson Mandela did to
Oh
bring
yeah.
the country together, now he is such an amazing example of forgiveness and of opening up the awareness beyond, because what he had gone through and what he, decided to do when he came out really brought the country together. And that is probably why we have, more freedom now. And also, that national anthem with the 5 languages, which you're absolutely right. It is beautiful. And it makes me very proud when I hear things like that, to be South African. I mean, probably never go and live there again, but I know that deep down in my heart, it's always going to be part of me.
Growing
I
up
love it.
in France and as a young boy, as far as I can remember, the first song, foreign song, I learned by heart. Another time I barely spoke any English, was a song I will always remember, Asi Bonanga by Johnny Clegg.
Yeah, Johnny Clegg and
For me,
Suzuka, yeah.
now God bless his soul, I believe he passed, but that was the first song, foreign song I memorized by heart. Even I had no idea what it was talking about because it just sounded so freaking cool, so beautiful.
It's amazing how music can actually make the heart sing, right? You might not know what it says,
I had no idea what the
but
guy
as
was
long as
talking
it
about.
makes your
You
heart
might as well say,
sing.
I'm going to
Yeah.
kill you. Yes, yes, please, please, with a smile on his face. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
it's
amazing. Wow. Now, listen, let's, I love talking to you. So much we can talk, but I think I'm going to have to bring you on for part 2. But let me now take you on a different type of trip. You mentioned some of that, but let me take you back to where you were a young kid. Remember when we growing up, friends, families, relatives always ask us, so Janine, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer back then?
my answer back then. It's funny you you asked that, because I wrote an article and I said when I was dreaming when I was young, I always wanted to be like a pro tennis player, or
Wow.
an air hostess, or a pilot or something like that. That was my dream, to be a pro tennis player. I used to love tennis. I could
Who
watch
was
it
your favorite
all
player?
day long. What's that?
Who was your favorite player? Favorite tennis player?
My favorite player at the time, when I was like a teeny little tot, was oh my gosh, like Andre Agassi and Boris Becker. Like, oh yeah,
Oh yeah, I love
yeah,
tennis
yeah,
too. Wow.
yeah.
Tennis is, wow, cool, awesome.
And
So
Djokovic now is here, but there's a lot of interesting things happening with him right now. But anyways, I mean, in terms of it, I wanted to be a pro tennis player, and I also wanted to be able to bring people together. And I remember having this thought in my mind, that thinking, if we really wanted to transform the world, all we needed to do was get all the people to agree on one thing. And if
yes,
you get those people to agree on one thing, then you can get it. You can get consensus. But anyway, that was a dream.
well, this is what you know, one of the greatest salesmen in the world, Jordan Belfort, the guy behind the Wolf of Wall Street. He started. He was one of the greatest salespeople in the world. He created a selling system called the straight line selling, which is basically when you talk to your prospect, your client, you just get them to agree on one thing, and then to the next thing. You don't try to get them to agree on 3 things at a time because you're gonna get overwhelmed. One thing at a time,
Mhm.
straight. A, we agree. Okay, let's move on to B. We agree. Okay, let's move on to C. And before you know it, the sale is done.
Yeah.
So look into that, the straight line persuasion, whatever, straight line system of selling by Jordan Belfort. If you're into really professional selling, wow, that's fascinating. But again, that applies to everything in life and business and everything.
Yeah.
Wow. So you
We're
mentioned
always
that
selling.
absolutely, we are negotiating selling every second. Whenever you're talking to someone, you're trying to tell them, hey, let's go watch this movie. Oh, let's grab this for lunch. Any decision you're making, you're negotiating. You're persuading someone else, and the person
Yes.
was the strongest frame wins.
Yeah. And it's beautiful though, right? Because the thing is that you can also do it in a beautiful way to get people
Yes.
to, in terms of what I do, it often is to get people to sell them on themselves,
Yeah,
to sell
exactly.
them on their own potential, to sell
Yeah.
them, to tell them they're good enough to do what they want.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's beautiful.
Awesome. You mentioned earlier that you loved school. So now, what was your favorite subject in school?
I think it was like accounting.
Oh,
Accounting and
really?
math were probably my favorite. And
Okay.
I always got told I was good at that, but I enjoyed those, and biology sometimes, but it
Okay.
depended.
I was never good in math and accounting. I'll make a confession. I had to take it twice in college.
Doesn't matter. You know what? For me, what I realize is it's not how many times you do it. It
Yeah.
is being persistent to get to the end result. That for me is the success.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I remember even going for my driver's license. I didn't pass my driver's license on the first time. I have a cousin who probably failed like 10 or 11 times.
Good for
And
him.
that's okay. As
Yeah.
long as you pass it, after that, you can drive. Nobody's
Yeah.
going to remember the 10 or 11 times.
Exactly.
Hey,
And
you
if
can
you fail
drive.
10 times, then he knows 10 ways not to do it again the next time. This is the whole
Gee,
principle behind Edison,
yep.
10,000 ways of not making a bulb.
Oh, yes, you're absolutely right. Edison was amazing. The ideas were there and he persisted and said he was going to get it no matter what. He had the idea, the vision, and he went for it. And
One
that's
of the
true.
best definition of success I heard was, what is a successful person? What is an expert? Is a person who's mastered all the most number of ways to fail, you know, because it's very important in both life and business to know what to do, but it's twice as much important to know what not to do.
Yeah.
And that's why some people might think it's cliche or it's just cheesy, but our failures, our losses are our greatest teachers, because that's where we learn twice as much. If everything was just succeeding all the time, no fail, no setback, you will not grow.
Yeah,
But
that's
when you,
absolutely true, Payman.
yeah,
Love that.
yeah, for sure. Now, what would you say was the one topic in school that you did not like at all?
What topic did I not like at school? I can't say there was anything that I really disliked, because I was a diligent student member.
Oh,
So
yes.
I was always out there trying to do my best in everything that I was doing. So, I went and I just gave it my all. And because of who I am, I always thought there must be a way to do things. And so I would always figure it out. I mean, not perfectly, but at least I figured it out somehow.
Awesome. Now, what was your very first job?
My very first job. Well, if you put it about like trying to make money and stuff, I remember when I was at school and we had this project to make something in order to sell at school. That was kind of my very first job, and that was making toffee apples. So I made toffee apples and I took those toffee apples to school and we, sold them and then made a little bit of money. I don't remember what we did with the money, but it was like a little exercise or a little project that we were doing
School
in school.
trip or
That
whatever.
was my
Yeah.
first job.
Okay. Wow. Awesome. Okay, cool. Now, Dallas, let's move forward. From the moment you left school to now, how would you describe your path? Would you say your path was pretty much straight forward, smooth sailing the moment you get into one lane, or was it like turns and twists like a roller coaster?
Yeah, Payman, my life has been really interesting, in the sense that I would say any challenges or difficulties that I've had were self-inflicted. But at the time, I didn't quite know that. So yes, there were roller coasters in my life, but for the most part, it was okay and comfortable. And those roller coaster parts were really because my awareness at that time was more in a fear factor and a getting it wrong, and you're not good enough, to there are possibilities, and opening my heart up to who I truly am. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but
Yes.
that kind of is what comes to my mind.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're the star of the show. The show is about you. So whatever answer you give, that's good enough for you. That's good enough for me. So that's awesome. Now, I'm sure you heard the saying that says, change your story, change your life. And by story, I mean what we keep on telling ourselves on a daily basis. So when you're Janine, had to change your story to either bring your life to where you want it to be or to change your life. How did you do it? Did you do it to the help of friends, family, mentors, books, videos? So tell us the process you used to change your story to change your life.
Mm. It reminds me a lot of the quote by Wayne Dyer. He says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Wow.
And for me, that is a quote that, it's really stuck with me. And even till now, I use it often because my journey through it all was that my desire has always been to help people to be authentic, to know who I am, and to be able to show up authentically as who I am. And as I grew up in my life, I was always afraid of what my family would think, because we grew up in a very close family that always expected so much from you. Coming from an Asian family, your expectations are very high in terms of education, in terms of getting the job, in terms of money and all of those things.
Not
so
just any job, but a job that is, respectable,
Yes.
Because that's
Yes,
big
absolutely.
for us Asian families. Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful that my parents didn't push me that much, but I knew inside, they didn't necessarily say it, but I had that expectation already because it was sort of ingrained unconsciously.
You mentioned you want to be either a tennis player or a pilot, but what was your family's, your parents' expectation of you? Because in my background is either doctor, lawyer, engineer. My father was a geologist, archaeologist, and all that, highly educated PhD. But, it was always teasing me. Oh, by the time I was your age 25, I had already my master's. What are you doing? You're traveling around the world. Come on, get real. So he was always teasing me like that. So what was your parents' expectations of you? What was in their mind what they wanted you to become?
It's a tough one. I never really asked them what they thought I wanted to become, but maybe I thought that because also of the nature of all the other Chinese and the community speaking, and that at that time, everybody was going into commerce because, you become an accountant, you're going to get a good job because everybody needs accountants, everybody needs doctors, everybody needs lawyers. So in terms of that professional realm of study, that's where a lot of people were saying, you should go and study to be a doctor, a lawyer, or accountant. And that kind of is probably what led me to become an accountant. I mean, yes, I love numbers, but it wasn't my I don't know that it was my number one choice. If I look back and I look again, I probably would be doing what I'm doing now. And that is inspiring other people, speaking to people and getting them to become truly aware of who they are. But numbers was the one that guided me because that's what everybody was saying you should do, go and do numbers.
Janeen, you're natural. You're just progressing things exactly I wanted to do. You read my mind. You were made for podcasting. I was just about to ask you about your business. You just did the transition for me. So tell us about your business now.
Oh, payment. Yeah, for me, it's really about inspiring people, getting people to really know who they are, dig deeper, because, as a professional, as an accountant, I understand I was in a box. I was doing really well. I was progressing well. And I know that I could have gone way higher in terms of my career as an accountant if I really wanted to. But deep down in my heart, I knew there was more. Like purposefully, I knew that I wanted to always show up authentically as who I truly am. And at times, there were times when I didn't feel like I was showing up authentically. I was just going with the flow and doing what, the norm is. So as I went on that journey and went personally deeper into myself, personally studying, going on retreats, meditations, all sorts of self-study, and also, following different gurus like the Tony Robbins. I don't know if you've heard of Muji. Bob is also one whom I work with now as well, is that I went in there and I said to myself, I want others to actually take back their own power. I want other professionals to realize that it doesn't need to be a grind. You don't need to run on that treadmill of life. You don't need to be exhausted all the time. There's another way, and it's easier, it's more fun, and you can still get everything that you want.
Love that.
So that led me to going from accounting, although we still, like my partner Margaret and I, still have an accounting practice where we do cloud bookkeeping and accounting for people. But I've been moving more towards the mindset coaching, where I'm saying, okay, do you want to get your business to the next level? How? You're a professional. You want to do more with your life. You want to earn more money. You want to have more time with your family. It's possible. And you don't have to work as hard as you are right now to get that. There is another way.
So let
And
me
that's
now,
really what I do, step by
well,
step, showing them, because us as accountants, sometimes we need that step by step to be able to get there. And I've got a step by step way of how.
love that. Let me ask you one question before you forget it. That just came while you were talking. So when
Mm.
you worked hard to get to where you are, climbing the ladder, an accountant and all that. Well, when you made the decision to quit your job to follow your heart, what were your parents' reaction? Were they horrified? Were they say, "What is she doing? Has she lost her mind?" Because that was their reaction to me when I said, "Hey, I want to pursue." I was just about to send my application to law school. I read a book, changed my direction before a work week. Instead, I started my online business that took me around the world. A different story. But they were horrified. See, are you crazy? You lost your mind? You have a golden path in front of you. Just send a damn application to law school. You'll be set for life. I said, yeah, but that's what I want. That's what my heart wants. And they had the hardest time to understand that. So would you say it was something similar with your parents when you were just, you worked all this life hard to get to a good position, and then you say, sorry, I don't like it. I'm out. I'm going to follow my heart. What were their reaction at that time?
You know, Payman, they didn't specifically give me a response. But at the same time, I really am gifted with my parents. They are very relaxed,
Okay.
loving people. And, you know, I've been gifted in the sense that they've always tried to support me in the best way they can, give me the best education, guide me, allow me to kind of follow my path. And so when I told them that, it probably wasn't them so much that was asking me, well, why are you giving up this luxury or this beautiful lifestyle or this comfort or this security that you have? It was probably more my colleagues. It was probably more my friends and other family that were like, you're giving that up? So
Yeah.
that it came more from them rather than my parents itself, or maybe through my parents indirectly, but
But
they
I
never
guess
told
I
me
can see why
outright.
the reason your parents didn't say anything is because even though deep down they didn't like that, they trusted you to know what you were doing. They trusted you to that you will be making the right decision. And just for that, they gave you the benefit of the doubt. At least that's what I feel from my parents, even though they were exposed, I mean, against it, but they said, you know what? He's gonna be okay. He's smart enough. He's not stupid. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
He's still young. He's still, if he doesn't look, he can still come back to, because law school is not gonna go anywhere. So
Yeah.
that was, I think,
That's a
their
great
reaction.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
Thanks
when
for
you're
sharing
young.
that. It is great.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
great, that's a great perspective. And that's probably it, because deep down they knew that I have the answer for me.
Because I could
And
feel at times that they might have been, disappointed because they had high hopes for me, and my family, very, very highly educated people, doctors, nurses, lawyers, and all that, and especially from my father's side, my
Mhm.
mother's side too. But they were kind of disappointed in a way. I can feel it. But then they said, you know
Mhm.
what? Let him be. Because what we want for him to be happy, and if that makes him happy, as long as he's not going to be on the street, and we're not going to let that happen, he's gonna, he's always gonna be able to bounce back, and I'm forever grateful for them for that. And that's, I think, the greatest place to be as a parent. Yes, you want the best for your child, but at the end of the day, it's not your life; it's their life. One mistake many parents do is they try to force on the child some of their broken dreams. For example, he wanted to be, for example, a tennis player or football coach. Football player wasn't good. Now they're forcing the son or daughter to be that. No, you're destroying them. The stress is gonna kill them. They're gonna resent you. They don't want to see you anymore. Is this what you want? No, let them be. And that's why what I love about some of the people I admire, especially in professional football, the tennis, the top players, they're not forcing. Even some of them even not allowing their sons to follow professional sports because of the stress, because of the name that they carry. Say no, do what you want.
Mhm.
If that's what you really want, go for it. But don't do it because you're my son, because the stress is gonna kill you. I've been there. I know how it is.
Yeah. So true, to Payment. Absolutely so true.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome.
Beautiful.
Wow. Let's get back to your business. Who would you say is the ideal client?
For me, people like me, like professionals, because I know that background, because I know where I was and where I am now and the possibility, A lot of my clients are professionals that are in accounting, in whatever profession, but it's a professional. But at the same time, Payman, I work with all types of people, and really it's people that are opening up to their awareness and have that desire to live more purposefully and an easy, flow for life. But that's kind of it. Hopefully that answers your questions, because it's essentially more professionals, even people that want to make a transition. Like I made a transition from being an employee to an entrepreneur, and I help people with that as well. But it's really coming from that breaking limiting beliefs. So for me, yeah, professionals who have a desire to live more.
One of the things I really love about podcasting is I get to talk with people from all backgrounds, all industries, all walks of life. And your story all of a sudden just dawned on me, reminds me of a wonderful lady on my podcast back around May, June. She's Hong Kongese. She was born in Germany, born and raised in Germany, but then later on in life, she moved back to Hong Kong, did the studies and all that, got a very high paying job, working for import export company, Chinese import export company in Hong Kong, helping German companies, do business with China and all that. She was making really good money, but her heart was not into it. So it took her the longest. She was saying it was the greatest battle of my life to muster the courage to quit my job and to convince my parents that, hey, I don't care about the money. For me, it's the heart. I know I can make money doing what I love. So she finally mustered the courage, quit a job, started a business, is doing really well now. And now what she's doing, she's basically empowering, corporate females in Hong Kong. And I told her, China, Malaysia, Singapore, all the Chinese speaking countries around Asia. But for now, she's doing Hong Kong and worldwide to empower these ladies to take the courage, muster the courage to follow their high paying job that is not fulfilling them, and instead follow their heart. If you want, I would be happy to connect you with her. Her name is Pin Share.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's always nice to connect to people who are like-minded, because there's always synergies that can happen, right? There's always energy that flows and collaborations that happen. I love meeting new people.
Consider it done. So after this call, I'll connect you to both Pen and as well as Ira. She's in Vancouver. So, all right, I'll do that. So awesome. Okay, thanks. Now, so how long have you been doing the business you're doing now?
It's interesting when you say, how long have you been doing the business that you've been doing now? Personal development, coaching, mentoring, mindset work. It's really, I've been doing it for a long, long time. And I say that, but it's not official, because when I was working in all my other jobs, I was managing many teams. I was managing students. I was managing higher level people. And as a result, you've also got to, for me, I was having to encourage and motivate them, but guide them and also give them the leeway in order to grow. So, on the personal development journey, on the managing, coaching realm of things, it's almost been, wow, I want to say 20 years plus. But if I look at what I've been doing now and actually having the courage to come and truly do what I want professionally as a business, it's only been probably the last 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us about the structure of your program. Is it one-on-one? Is it small groups? Is it large groups? Is it videos? Is it coaching? Tell us about the structure. How long does it take for someone to see results? Tell us all the good stuff if someone is watching this or listening is interested about your program.
Well, one of the very first things I do with my clients is really understanding what they want, because a lot of people go for they go for goals, but they go for a goal that they think they can get, not a goal that they really want. So, for me, when I work with my clients, it's about a long-term commitment of 6 to 12 months. We work together first to get really clear on where you want to go. Okay. And once you know where you want to go, then we start working on how you get there and how you start breaking down your limiting beliefs so that you can start creating new habits for yourself to start getting the success that you want. It's step by step. It's a 12 lessons. You get audio videos with that. And then also we meet at least bi-weekly. And often it's in a masterminding, because, 1 + 1, and I think we might have spoken about this before, 1 + 1 can either equal to 2 Or you can say 1 + 1 is equal to 11, because if you bring minds together and you really start to collaborate, the answers that you're going to come up with are going to be way bigger and awesome in terms of getting greater results. So, masterminding is a great thing, and collaborating. And then also, one-on-one that I offer clients as well, in order to, get them clarity or tweaking things the way they need it to be tweaked. And the beautiful thing too is that a lot of my clients, they also get opportunity to work with Bob, because a lot of my coaching is also done with Bob Proctor. So
I was about to ask, who's Bob?
It's not only me, right? Yeah. And that means that, you know what, he's been doing it for over 80 years. Yeah. Oh, no, he's old, he's 87, but he's been doing it for about 60. And so, forever, yeah, he's a legend at that. So you're not getting something that is just a, possibly guesswork, maybe can work. It does work. I know, because I've gone through the process, the step-by-step myself, and I know that it works, and my clients are getting amazing success. So for me, it's about, working together and committing and opening yourself and your heart to who you truly are.
Absolutely.
And what better way to do it than one-on-one, as well as learning with other people.
You said something really powerful, which is it's about listening to what the person really needs, where they are, to really, because it's not just a cookie cutter. Okay, here's a program, see how it can apply to you, because that's the wrong way. Instead, really listen to the person. What is you're struggling? What is stopping you? What do you want? Get to know them, and then give them something that really addresses their pain point. That's something I'm seeing a lot of so-called coaches out there that are completely missing. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the foundation of a successful business. Because what is business? In my opinion, business is not just an exchange of value or a commercial, transaction. Some people can do it, but that's not going to be a business going to last long. It's not going to business going to be talked about in a positive way. A business, what is a business? Why people spend money? It's not on you or me. They don't care what they're spending money, and it's not even the results. It's on the transformation.
Yes.
Because that's what people want more than a result. What is a result? Result is the first step of a transformation.
Yes.
So, and that's
and
what
it's
people
very
want.
Yeah, it's very true, right? Like there's a lot of self-help stuff out there, Payman, and there's a lot of people out there that are doing amazing work, great books and all of that. But one of the things that I've identified and seen is that information, if you don't take action on it, remains stillborn, right? So it's really, like you say, that transformation and that action that needs to come in. And when we work together with me and my clients, is really about taking those action steps. And in addition to that, it's not just about taking one action step one day and then giving up on it. Because, if you've seen it, probably people go to the gym. They don't go to the gym and go to the gym for 6 hours at one go and expect to have great bodies. They consistently go every day for a short period of time, and they build that up until all of a sudden whatever day it comes, they go to the gym, and this is so easy. And then it's automatic, right? And that is what habits are. There's good habits and bad habits. Habits are really only what you have programmed in your mind. And sometimes they're not good habits, but you still do them because you're so used to doing it.
Yeah, the habits are powerful. Absolutely. Yeah. One of my favorite books. I'm sure you might have heard of them, and you probably have read it. The Slight Edge.
Yeah.
Classic. It's just, transformation doesn't happen. You're not going to change something 50% overnight. 1% a day. Do that for 1 year. It's going to be 365%. You can be a different person. I mean, if you look at it, how can I go change 50% in 1 day? That's overwhelming. Maybe 0.0001% of the population might be able to do it. But now if you ask them 1% a day, now that's something tangible, achievable, and doable and realistic. Now you put your mind on 1% a day. This is also part where the Japanese principle of Kaizen, never ending, improvement is based about. Mm-hmm. This is what fueled the Japanese miracle in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. From a completely destroyed country to being the number 2 industrial power in the world. The Kaizen approach, 1% improvement every day.
Yes. But that consistent action.
Yes.
And also, being here when I work with my clients, it's really about keeping them accountable to take that little consistent action. Because very easy, I know when before I used to do it, I'd say, yeah, I'm going to read this book and I'm going to get it done. And I'm so motivated the first 3 weeks. Come the fourth week, I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to read it one day, just today. And then today becomes tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So, we become, I become your best cheerleader, helping you and keeping you accountable to really take that little 1% action every day.
Exactly. And even championship teams are applying this. I was reading a book by even Phil Jackson, if you follow basketball, the great coach of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant
Yes.
and all that. They were saying, listen, you want to win the championship next year? Easy. Let's work together, improve 1% each day from yesterday.
Yeah.
If at the highest level, people like that, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant did that, God bless his soul, then there's no reason that we cannot also apply that.
Yes. And that 1%, like you say, it adds up, right? And it builds that momentum, and it builds the foundation to make it stronger for you so that you can get to where you want to get to. And it's also fun. It's about having fun with it, right? Because if it's hard work, your attitude toward that is going to be different. But if you take it as fun and you get to do this, you get to transform your life for you, different attitude.
Totally. The 1% a day is basically just like compound interest. You don't see it, but it's working magic. It can work against you or for you if you use it properly. And of course, we have to make it fun, enjoyable, because if it's not fun, after 5-6 days, you're going to give up. Say, screw that. No, that's so true. Absolutely. Wow. Love talking to you. Now, since you've been doing
too.
Same here. So happy to hear. Since you've been doing your business for longer than a couple of days, I'm sure you've had quite a few success stories. Now, I want you to share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients so far.
The most transformational is a single mom who was really getting frustrated. Like she was a professional before, but then she had children, gave up her career to, bring up a family, and then separated from her partner. And she was on her own, working on a job that wasn't earning very much money. She was getting worried about the fact that she's got to take care of her kids. Yes, she was getting maintenance from the father for the kids, but she still also needed to, maintain her lifestyle as well as build for retirement. She was working with me. We started working together in February, and she was like, but I really need to make a change. She wanted to own her own business. She started getting into studying. And when she got into her studying, now she's actually just become a full-time entrepreneur. She quit her job, is now from an employee to an entrepreneur. She is living a life that she loves. And the biggest thing though was, Payman, was that she realized that the only thing that was holding her back was her.
Yes.
So we managed to break that down until, she could see, wait a minute, this is possible. I have it. I can do this. And it was just so beautiful when she said to me, yep, the one day I said to her, well, what are you going to do now? And she said to me, her name's Sandra, and she said to me, yeah, I really want to quit my job and start on my own, but I don't know how, and I'm afraid. And then we spoke through it, and we guided, we worked through it. And by the end of the conversation, she was like, yep, no, I'm ready. Wow. And she did it.
Amazing. Wow. And you know what? The greatest reward, as far as I'm concerned, in any business, especially when you're working directly with people, it's not the money. It's a transformation you see with people. Like, just to give you a recent example, like the first group of students I had on my podcast, it's the first group of alumni. And when I asked them for the feedback, the feedback that really touched me the most was one of the gentlemen, you will see it on the testimonial when you watch it later, he said, before that, I was holding my voice. It allowed me to open my throat chakra. Now I can speak myself much more eloquently and much more confidently. When I heard that, say, wow, it almost brought me to tears because much stronger than a podcast. It's someone being finding their voice. That to me is invaluable, priceless. That's the kind of thing that's going to create not just a relationship of client to client, but almost like brother to brother, and
Yeah.
brother to sister. Something
Yeah.
really a strong bond that connects you because wow. For me, it's all about the transformation. Seeing someone that was shy, just like me, overcoming the shyness and going there because one of the things most powerful things I learned and I heard it again and again on my podcast was we all have stories. We all have a lot of crap that we went through that we had to overcome. These are stories or lessons. They're there for us to teach us to grow. And what are those lessons? They're not here to make us have a hard time. Sure, at the time it hurts and it's difficult, but once you overcome them, you become a much bigger person, much stronger, and all that, wiser. But then these are not just for you to overcome them, because if that's all you were doing, it would be selfish. It would be a waste of a wonderful lesson. These lessons are your gift. We all come here for a reason, for a gift. And those lessons are your gift to the world to share them with others, not just keep it for you. Because if you keep them for you, it's just like being selfish and you're wasting such a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
But when you share your story, and podcasting is all about sharing story, I was like, wow, this is a different angle. This takes the whole notion of podcasting to completely different, taken from just being another vehicle for business to being actually a transformational path, transformational opening opportunity at the highest level for you to get your voice, your message, your gift to the world. And when you look at it that way, you say, wow,
Yeah.
now this is
That's
powerful.
It is beautiful. And just to add on to that, one of the other beautiful things is also that it's a gift that each one, when they make the transformation for themselves,
Mhm.
is a gift to them that will keep on giving.
Absolutely.
Because when, you see the confidence that comes through, that confidence, the attitude shifts. That attitude allows one to take different actions. Those different actions snowball into a benefit to people that are close by, and that filters onto communities, that filters onto the world. And so really for me, when I get transformations for my clients, and I'm saying to them, it's not transformation that I do. I don't do the work. It's all their work.
Sure.
Right? So I don't take credit for the success that they get. They got to take the credit for it. I'm just guiding them and showing them how they can take that power back. And then it's theirs. And once it's theirs, nothing is going to stop them, because once you know how to drive a car, no one's going to tell you that you don't know how to drive a car.
Exactly. Same thing for anything. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all about helping them become aware of their unlimited potential and give them the confidence to do it on their own. First, you hold their hand, so to speak, and then just like a child walking or riding a bicycle for the first time, you hold them, you give them a tricycle first, and then slowly remove the third wheel and they just go, and you're not just running beside them, you just go now.
Yeah.
And they say, wow.
Yeah.
Same thing here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is beautiful. I love it.
Absolutely.
It's exciting. I mean, the work that I do in terms of mindset is, when you think about, talk about podcasting, that's also empowering. It's a different
Sure.
way. Like there's the mindset where you can do it, but the podcasting also gives confidence. And it is
Totally.
almost in a way a partially, mindset as well, because when you believe you can, there's this quote that says, if Henry Ford said, if you think you can, or if you think you can't,
Both
let me
way
say
right.
that again. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Either way, you are right. And
Yeah,
it's very true, because
totally.
it really comes down to your belief,
Exactly.
right?
We set our own limitations.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's,
Yeah, no, totally. And no, for sure. And podcasting, as I said, has been the greatest blessing in my life so far in ways I can't even comprehend. And for you as well, given what you're doing, the caliber of impact you're having out there for you will be a no-brainer as well. Because it's gonna allow you to, because regardless of what kind of business you're in, every client, every customer, every deal, every transaction, every launch, every product. That's a story. That's a person worth sharing, because stories, stories are what we all about. People are all about stories. This is how people have been from the way back, the first human beings. That's how they shared knowledge. They just gather around a big fire or whatever. And the elders started talking and teaching, and everybody started listening. And that's how we learn. That's how we do, because stories are powerful. Stories are you know, are magnetic. Stories have in a way even a life of their own, energy, a frequency, vibration of their own, especially the way you share it. If it's from first-hand experience, you put in your personality, you put in your character, you put in your personal sauce that makes it even more attractive, even more juicy and tasty. This is why stories are magical. Stories are everything.
Yeah.
What is, if you can summarize us human beings in one word, the first word that comes to mind, sure, there's many words, but the first word that comes to mind would be stories.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
everybody has a story, and the story is our gift, and our gift is not for us to keep it, because that would be selfish, it would be a waste, but to share it. For example, God forbid you go through a very painful challenge. Yes, it hurts like a bee, but eventually you overcome it, and then you learn from it, and then you will share the lessons with friends and family around you. That's a limited way of expanding your gift. But what if you could share your gift with the world through your book, through your podcast, through your work, through all that? So
Yeah.
that's why, podcasting is for me one of the most powerful vehicles out there, especially if it has a real meaning, not just for the sake of just making money. But sure, we all need to make money, but let's do so in a way that's meaningful, impactful, purposeful. And it's because when you do that, it's a lot more fun. One of the quotes I will never forget from, I've been honored to have many incredible guests on my podcast, but one that stands to mind is Mr. Paul Dunn, the founder of B1G1. He said
Yeah.
there is two types of companies out there: standard and stand out. You become stand out when your business is not just about you. It's about a bigger
Mhm.
thing. When your
Yeah.
business is about, for example, when you have employees for your business, if you have a cause attached to your business, it's not going to be, they will feel really passionate about that, especially if you can
Yeah.
relate and connect with that purpose. They will not be just there just for a paycheck. Sure, they need the money, but they will be there also. They will be motivated to do good out there. And when you do that,
Yeah.
it's gonna bring a new energy, a new life to your
Yeah.
business, to your company culture and everything. So that's why for
Yeah.
me, there's a cheesy saying that says, in real estate, that says location, location, location. In business, after living in all these countries and been involved in all kind of businesses, I found something similar, and I call it the rule of the 3 Ds: differentiation, differentiation, differentiation. What me and you can do
Mm.
to elevate ourselves from being just another coach, another accountant, another speaker, whatever you are, to being the expert, the authority, the leader. For me, 3 ways.
Yeah.
Number one, being a cause driven business, having a purpose to your business, not just profit. Number two, a podcast. And number three, a book. If you have all these three, then you become untouchable. Then competition becomes completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in
And
so many ways in my own businesses in the past, as well as business people I know around me.
yeah.
You can ask the same thing to Bob, your friend Bob Proctor. I'm sure I would love to have his take on that, and I'm willing to bet a pretty penny that he would agree with that. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. It's really also about that vibration, that you bring to Payman, you mentioned, and that's one thing that I wanted to mention too, was that you said about, having a cause, having a purpose, and bringing something bigger, because as human beings, what we can bring to the world is also our lessons for others, so that others don't have to go through the experience that we did. They can shortcut their success,
exactly what I was talking about.
right?
Yes.
So my story comes and I
Mm.
share it with you and I tell you, this is how I've shortcut my success, and you can do it too. So you don't have to go through all the pains and frustrations that I've gone through, but you can still get the success.
That's one of the
Right.
best ways for you to build a beautiful
Yeah.
tribe around you, because believe it or not,
Yes.
no matter what problem you're facing, you're definitely not the only person in the world having that. No matter
Yes.
how obscure it might seem, you can
Yes.
bet your ass that there's quite a lot of people having the same problem, the same issues.
Yes.
And that's what's
Yeah.
bring people together: our problems, our challenges. And if you
Yeah.
can bring them together and share your experience with them, then it's a
Absolutely.
community, it's a movement, it's a global family. Basically, and that
Yeah.
allows us to get closer to our original essence. We're all connected at the source level.
Yeah. And we create that too, like,
Yes.
because, the thing is also, you were talking about, again, bringing in a cause. That is beautiful, because then when you're doing something for others, you're serving. And that vibration of serving is a joy, because when you're serving, you lift up your vibration, right? But that also, gets you thinking in a different way. And, when you start to think about serving and loving and giving, you are at a much higher vibration than when you're always thinking about getting and taking and, profit and competition. Even the words themselves have a different vibration, very different vibration to giving, to serving, to loving. And for me, what I've learned is that intentionally my thoughts, I'm training more and more, and with my clients, is to think about things that make me feel good, make me lift up my vibration, make me feel happy, make me feel joyful and serving. Because there's this one quote I want to share with you from, I think it was Andrew Carnegie said to Napoleon Hill. He said to Napoleon Hill, any idea held in the mind, either feared or revered, will begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate physical form available.
Wow. Very,
right?
very powerful.
So what it's really saying is if you keep on thinking about a worrying thought, you are going to start getting worrying things around you in the physical form. But if you think about joyful things, if you think about giving a cause greater than yourself, then you're thinking about wonderful things. And then you start to get more wonderful things back.
Yeah.
And by having that greater cause in your business, that is a beautiful way to keep you on that higher vibration of receiving more goodness.
Absolutely. When you go to my website, there is on a background, there's a big quote and Scrabble letters that says, "In lifting others, we all rise."
Yeah.
Because when I saw it, I said, wow. You mentioned cause. For me, cause. When you're in a giving mood, when you shift your focus from profit to impact, and guess what? Miracle happens. Miracles.
Mm-hmm.
The right people start showing the right circumstances. It's almost like, so to speak, the sea is being, open in front of you. You can just walk. Everything happens. All the obstacles by magic disappear. And it's really brilliant, because when you focus on impact, then you don't have to worry about money. The money is going to take care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what is money? Again, to come back to what I said earlier, it's not at the base, it's an exchange of value. But that, for example, you go to the store, you buy something, you give your money, thank you very much, goodbye. You're not going to remember it. But if on top of that commercial or transactional exchange, you add impact, then the person will remember that. It's going to go from just another boring commercial transaction to a memorable experience, a memorable memorable experience. And when you do that, that's when people, your customers, your clients will start talking about you positively. They will become it will do your marketing. It will become your evangelical fans. And that's when magic happens. That's when your company goes viral and explodes in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah. Money is interesting, because it's also, it's a form of exchange. And you said that there, but also money is also in the consciousness.
Money is
because
energy.
Yes, money is energy, and it's just vibrating at a different level. Mm-hmm. And when people say, I have a lot of money, or I have a little bit of money, and how that makes them feel, that emotional consciousness of it is relative to what they're experiencing. Because, $10,000 can be a lot to somebody who maybe only has 1,000, but 10,000 is very little to somebody who has 1 million. So it's relative. And, for me, one of the biggest things, and I was actually just thinking about this just today and yesterday writing, was that, in Africa, what I've seen is, because I volunteered in communities also where, it was more, and not underprivileged, but, maybe not material things that they have, but they've got a love among them that is beautiful. And the community there, what I saw is, like a child, they got candy or they got sweets and they would take that. They wouldn't eat it all for themselves. They would go and they would get their friends and they'd all come together with their friends and they share it among their friends.
Yes.
That is an abundance mentality. Now, you don't need to have a lot to have an abundance mentality, but you need to have the awareness of that. And that's what that child, the children have, is to say, yep, I've got this, but I'm abundant. I can go and share it with my friends now.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Right.
No, it's beautiful. Absolutely.
Very different.
I've seen that so many times in my own life and my travels. People homeless, have nothing, just an apple is their one meal a day, and they were not even thinking twice about sharing it with me.
Yes.
At first, I didn't realize they were homeless people, but then when I noticed that, I was in tears. So wow,
Yeah.
how arrogant of us, because we can learn so much. We people on the street, for us, we think they're them as lazy losers and whatnot, but they're not. They just had a bad turn of event. It can happen to any one of us, but actually, spiritually speaking, these people are much richer than us. We have so much to learn from these people, because it's not easy to be there, and you have to have tremendous moral strength to be able to cope with that on a daily basis for years at a time. So it's one of the most humbling experiences ever. It really makes you really fast come down to earth, really fast. Even if you're making $1,000 a day, you know that, hey, one wrong move, you can be like that. And then what? Because you're not prepared mentally here, you're not going to make it past an hour. Forget about the day.
Yeah.
When you don't have your
Well,
comfort and all that. So no, it's an incredible experience for sure.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And the thing is too, on that, Herman, really is about, a lot of people that are really wealthy, they're not afraid of losing money.
The real
because
ones,
they
yes.
know that their awareness is such that they're going to figure out another way of getting the money, because everything's energy, right? And that's why that awareness and expanding that awareness is so important. And that's where the mindset comes in, because when you change your perception of how you see money, and you see it from a different angle, you will treat it different. You will interact with it differently. You will spend it differently, and you won't be afraid of losing it, because when there's fear, you're at a different vibration.
Totally.
When you're at abundance, you're at a different vibration, and those two different vibrations allow more to come to your life. If you're in a fear vibration, you're going to attract more fear and things that are associated to that. But when you're on an abundance vibration, you're going to attract more of that into your life as well, in all areas, not just one.
It's amazing talking to you, natural, just taking conversation exactly where I want to go. I might as well just want to offer you the mic and let you be also the host and the guest at the same time, because you're taking exactly what I want to take, which is about causes. So tell us, this is the purpose, the theme of this podcast, cause. What would you say for you, Janeen, as a cause that you're very passionate about, that you're deeply passionate about?
For me, the biggest cause is empowering others to make them realize that the cause is in their control, that we can control our cause. And once we control the cause, the effects will take care of themselves. So when I think about a cause, my cause is really to empower as many people as I can, young people, professionals, even people that are in their 60s or 70s or 80s, because it doesn't matter where you are in terms of age. Once you create your own cause and you take that power, the effects take care of themselves. So for me, I love working with young people and going out there and volunteering and helping them to actually say, yeah, take back the power. Let me show you how.
Wow. That's awesome. Listen, Janeen, I love talking to you. We'll have to bring you back for a part 2, because there's so much more we can talk. But let's wrap this up. And to finish, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions on advices. Ready?
Yep, ready.
What's the best piece of advice you've received so far?
Open your heart and mind to possibilities.
Love that. And then what would you say has been so far the worst piece of advice you've received so far?
Probably be the opposite to that, really, because is really, that there's competition.
Don't be crazy. Don't quit your job. Stay safe. Play it safe.
Yeah, there is competition. I think that's the one. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Payman. There we go. Stay in your job. Crazy. Don't move.
Yeah,
You're not good enough. Why would you want to leave that? Yeah, that is advice that I've gotten. But really, for me, the ultimate one is that there is competition, because what I've realized now is that in everything we do, there is no competition. We either create.
Because you're unique. Each of us has a different message, different purpose.
Yes.
So unless you have a clone of you, even the clone completely cloned, then it doesn't matter. Even if you have a clone, it doesn't matter, because the clone is only a clone. It's not the original,
Yes.
Awesome. So now imagine you add a time machine. You can go back in time, sitting face to face with an 18-year-old Janeen. With everything that you know now, what's the number one piece of advice you would give to her?
Dream big. I
How
mean, big. Beyond big. Dream big and go for it.
Yes, love that. Now, imagine that you have your podcast now, and today you're interviewing the most special person in the world, which is yourself. So you're interviewing yourself. What's the first question you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. What is the first question that comes to your mind that you want to ask yourself?
What do I want to ask myself? What is the question that I want to ask myself? So I'm interviewing me, and I'm going to ask myself that question.
Don't think too much. What is the first question that comes to your mind that you want to ask yourself?
Let's go to the beach.
Oh, I like
Are you
that.
in?
I like that. Oh, absolutely. Tell me what. As long as it's a tropical beach, not a beach here in Canada. No, thank you.
Yes, that's what I had in mind. A warm beach with soft white sand.
Oh, yes.
Crystal
blue waters. Yes. Palm trees, coconuts, all the good stuff. Yes. Okay. Now, wow. My favorite question to ask, and that's the last question I will ask you. What's the smallest thing you've done that has had the greatest positive impact in your life and business? For me, it's been starting my podcast. What about you? And by small, I don't mean something small. I mean the one thing you've done that has had the greatest positive impact in both your life and business so far.
The one thing that I've done.
The one thing, the one decision, the one whatever. Yeah.
Payman, I would have to say that has been coming to study myself.
Wow.
And becoming truly aware of how I operate, and then becoming intentional about creating the new desires for myself. So it's really about studying me and really understanding how I tick and what I truly want. Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. Now, I want to ask you a question for me. I want you to be very direct, very blunt. I know you're kind. No filter, nothing held back. Give me tough love. Do you have any tips for me to improve my podcast?
Wow, that's a tough question. At this moment in time, Payman, I really must say that nothing popped into my mind. I really appreciated your professionalism, the way you approached it even from the beginning, and the questioning. I mean, you and I didn't discuss any of these questions before, so it really came as it is. It was like a live, uncut version. Nothing. I didn't know the questions, and I really loved that part of it, because it really allowed me to come truthfully into this, and you asked those questions, open and honestly and upfront. So for me, I don't really have anything that I can say was tough love. For me, all I can say is that, for you doing an amazing job at showing up as your authentic self and showing up and sharing what you do now is a great gift, in fact, to everyone.
I appreciate
and
it.
yeah, I always say, you know what, always focus on your strengths and your successes, because that's going to bring you more.
Totally. Do something you love. Yeah. Follow your heart. Absolutely. Listen, Janine, it's been absolute on. Oh, sorry. Let me backtrack. If someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
So I am on LinkedIn, and I'm more than happy to like share it. I've got a solo link as well that can that I can share with you. They can get hold of me over there. If you Googled Sam Cubway Consulting, you could pick up our website there as well. But in terms of getting in touch with me, those are probably the easiest. Unless I can share some other information with you, Payman. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. I am also on Facebook, Janeen Victoria. You can find me there as well. So connect
I'll
with
put
me
it in
there.
the show notes. Awesome. And if you have any other links you want me to share, put them on the show notes. Please send them to me later, and I'll be happy to put them on the show notes. Listen, Janine, it's been an absolute honor, pleasure, a blast talking to you. I love talking to you. We can talk for hours. And yes, you mentioned it's what I love doing is having an organic conversation, not one that is scripted. That's why I don't send my question in advance, because otherwise it would defeat the purpose. So, and you've been great sport. You're absolutely awesome. I'm sure there's so much more that we can cover. We'll do a follow up in a few weeks, in a few months, to see how things are going for you, especially after you started your podcast and all that, to see the transformation and how you're able to get more visibility, more impacting lives out there. So until then, I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world with your presence, with your message, with your warmth, with your lovely smile, with everything you do. Keep doing it. You're a true blessing, a true gift to this world. So keep doing it for as long as for another few thousands of years from now. So we'll definitely keep in touch. Connect later. So stay safe, stay awesome. God bless you, my friend. Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks. You too, Payman. It was awesome.
You're
Chat to you
welcome.
soon.
Bye bye.